Hello everyone. Thanks for being here way more ahead of time, but we'll have to unfortunately be waiting for them just 5 more minutes to go. So I just thought we would use this time to get to know each other. If you guys are okay with that, if you could just drop a couple of lines about yourself so that we know what you are doing, where you're from, and some things like that. And as a special gesture from our side, so for the nine of you who are here way much more before time, please do drop in your mobile numbers as well. You have, I think, Raj's number, so you could drop in there as well. And Raj would get back to you with a couple of bonuses from our side, just so that, like, we kind of encourage on-time behavior, right? So you're going to be young professionals, so this is something which would probably go a long way towards helping you out in your career as well. So that's a small gesture from our side. Nothing big. Hope you guys would like it. So if you guys are okay with it, if you could just go and just drop a small introduction about yourself, where you're from, what you're doing, which year are you in, just a small introduction, anything about yourself. You could just type it out in the chat box. I think we have Raj also joining. So Raj, good evening. And I was just telling the participants who had come in early that we would get back to them with some kind of a bonuses from our side, just because they were like, I think they were almost 10 minutes earlier than what the session was supposed to schedule at. So if you could just make a note of their usernames, probably we'll get back to them tomorrow with some kind of a bonus from our side. So I think we have 10. We could just round it off at 10. You could just maybe take a screenshot of their usernames, and we'll get back to them. I would love to get back to them with some kind of a bonuses from our side, as a small gesture of appreciation for this. And guys, if you could just feel free to just drop a small introduction about yourself. We're going to be here for the next I don't know, at least 1 hour. So if you could just drop a small introduction about yourself, would be great. Would help us break the ice as well. Please type a couple of lines about yourself, where you're from, what you're doing, so we get to know each other much more better. So are you able to see the screen? You're able to hear me as well, right? Any issues with that? Just type in yes if you can hear me. You have the chat box towards the left of your screen. So if you're able to hear me fine, if my video is good, just type in an yes. Okay. Okay, great. Super. So let's try to keep it a lot more interactive, right? So I'm not here in any official capacity. So let's try to keep it as much informal as possible. So I just wanted to get to know you guys better. So if you could just drop a couple of lines about yourself, what you're doing, where you're from, could even be like what your expectations from the sessions are. So now your questions, you could either click on the questions tab and you could put it out there, or you could type in the chat box as well. So if you basically ask the questions in the questions tab, then it remains there until I answer it manually. So it's always better to get your questions to be posted on the questions tab rather than on the chat box. So would love to see if someone can just kickstart things and just start introducing yourselves. It's anyways time, so we would have to get on with the session anyway. So before we do that, if you could just drop a quick couple of lines about yourself. No one up for it? Okay. Super. Okay. So let me just put out this poll out for you guys. So just for me to understand which branch of engineering that you guys are from, and just to you know keep things rolling. So for me to understand what kind of an audience it is that I'm actually speaking to. So there you go. You just have to. It's anonymous anyway. So I just for me to see like which branch of engineering you are from. So the others, if you guys are here, so we have 13 of us who are already here. So if you could just go on and answer the poll, just for me to understand like which branch of engineering you guys are from. So we have 7 people who have answered it so far. Guys, come on. This is just for me to understand which branch you're from. So go ahead, please do answer it so I can keep it relevant for you basically. Are you able to see the poll? If any of you is not able to see the poll, do let me know. We only have less than 50% of you answering this. Just for me to understand which branches you are from, right? So, okay. Okay, so seems like the majority, about 75%, um, are from the mechanical sciences. So I believe you guys are from either the automotive or mechanical domains. Great. So let me kickstart with our session for today. So today's session is all about me talking to you about how to build a career path, right? And as the outcome for this program or for this webinar, I want to show you that it is really actually very easy for you to build a career path and basically not just take any job that comes your way, but decide which jobs you want and probably pick up that exact particular job. So now I do understand that you guys have been through endless webinars day in and day out, and you probably are bugged up when you hear the word webinar. But I promise I'll try to make this as interesting as possible, right? But to do that, I would also need your help. I would need you to participate as well. So anything that you have, please try to make it interactive. Keep asking me questions. That is when everyone's going to be taking a lot more from this when we go back. Right. So what you see here on the screen is the list of companies where we've managed to place people or we've managed to work with them in various capacities. And this is just a small list of companies which I thought would be like familiar with for you guys. So you see that we tend to work primarily on the automotive sector. That's because it's always like better for us, better for our students if we take one sector of focus and just specialize in that. So for that matter, we specialize in the automotive sector, but that doesn't mean it is just core mechanical or just one such vertical per se. We work with the mechanical side of things, we work with controls, we work with electronics, we work with convergence domains, data sciences, IoT. So pretty much anything and everything to do with automobiles, starting from materials, starting from manufacturing process, shop floor management, all the way until building IoT algorithms, machine learning, and data sciences. We are there in it, right? So before we start, just a small introduction about myself, and this is again something which I want you guys to work on as well. So my career has been not exactly been in the regular track to speak of. I didn't kind of join a company right after college, stuck with it, and I didn't do that path. I never took that path. So for me, it has always been about following my own passions, building my own skill sets, and then subsequently me leveraging whatever skill sets I've acquired. So if you look at it, I have quite a lot of, if I could dare say that myself, I have quite a lot of cross-domain expertise, which means I'm a core mechanical engineer. I'm a BTech mechanical engineer, but I do work quite a bit on the electronic side of things, control systems. We develop machine learning algorithms, and the interesting fact is that I don't have a formal education in any of those things. I mean, trust me, I've not even done a certificate course on any of those things. So now the question would be, how do you think I would be in a position to kind of address these issues if I have not done a certificate course on it, or if I have not done my master's in it, if I have not done my PhD in it? You see, that is where like every one of us gets it wrong. So education is not equal to skill sets, right? So skill sets can be acquired in a lot of different ways. In fact, what makes it a lot more interesting is that I teach MTech courses at BITS Pilani for the Work Integrated Learnings program. So I teach MTech students who come from the industry with about 10, 15 years of experience. I teach them electric vehicles, I teach them control systems, ADAS, I teach them mechatronics. So I do that on a formal education side of things. But to be honest with you guys, I don't even have a master's degree. It just goes to prove that you don't actually need a formal or a structured education to acquire these skill sets. All you need is someone to point you in the right direction and make things interesting for you, and you would be able to absorb these kind of a skill sets just like how I was able to do. So this is me, and I want you to kind of like follow the same path, because I sincerely believe this is kind of what is going to set you guys apart as you move into the field. So why is it I ask you to do that, and all these things we'll see as we move into the later part of the slide. So a little bit about myself. I'm a team player, and I excel in situations which require me to do out of the box thinking. So when people said that you can only teach, calibration and control systems to triple E or ECE students, I said no, that's not the case. I can do it with automotive engineers. In fact, we have taught calibration and control systems to 10th standard students as well. So I tend to come out with some of the out of the box solutions, and I also believe that these characteristics of mine is what led me to my current position that I hold at Bits Pilani, the previous jobs I've done for UCAT Fuel Systems and a lot of other companies like that. So I've been doing a lot of introspection, trying to understand what actually made me click, and I figured it was something at a very 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 fundamental basic level, and that led me to establishing what we call as Brain Lab Technologies. So that's our startup, and we understood that the reason why me as an engineer without a formal master's or a PhD education was probably able to go ahead and do so many things, whereas a lot of our people, a lot of our students with all formal education are not able to do, is primarily down to one very single simple fact. It can be understood if you know what Bloom's taxonomy is. So Bloom's taxonomy is basically a set of six verbs, right? So verb is basically an action item, right? It's basically something which denotes action. So now this Bloom's taxonomy denotes how a student is basically learning. So when I say how a student is learning, you could learn a topic in multiple ways, right? So if you start from the bottom, you could either remember something about that topic, or you could understand something about it, or you could basically apply what you have learned there in various other situations. Now, if you look at our current education systems, right, or even whatever like any other edutech company which claims to be the next big thing, whatever they do, none of them actually like try to fix this problem for us. So basically, what they try to do is they give you some videos, they give you some programs, and they say, okay, you're skilled up, you're trying to move in. But actually speaking, that's not going to be the case, right? So you spend 4 years in your college, and all the 4 years you have been taught to pay attention to one of these three verbs here. So you are either asked to remember something, or you're asked to remember and understand something, and then you're asked to apply whatever you have learned in your examination. So now this is called as lower order thinking skills, right? So please take it in your head. Please take it in your head. What we've been led to believe, how we have learned all through our 12 years of higher secondary education and 4 years of college, it has all been something where we've been trained over and over again to concentrate on lower order thinking skills. And trust me, as an engineer, as a professional, these will not help you at all, because no company is going to pay you a 30,000 rupee salary to mug up a book and then come there and write about it. Or maybe like look a formula, get all the values and probably go solve the problem. No one's going to pay you for it. Let's be very pragmatic. No one, absolutely no one is going to be paying you for it. What they're going to be paying you for is your ability to do one of the higher order thinking skills. Now, higher order thinking skills, if you can look at the same Bloom's taxonomy, it starts from the right and goes to the left. So my right, right? So it starts at analyzing. So on top of applying is analyzing. So given a problem, you should be able to analyze that particular problem, figure out what has gone wrong with it. Then you will have to evaluate various different options in which you can solve it. And finally, you should be in a position to create a solution for it. Now, this is what we call as a higher order thinking skills. And unfortunately for us, our current education system has never taught us this. Trust me on this, it is not existent in our market. You can go, you can take any particular subject, you can take a question paper and ask them, how are they evaluating you? Okay, forget question papers. You might say, no, that is why we have something like a lab exams or something like that. What exactly do you do in your labs? Do they give you a problem and do they ask you to go there and probably test it and probably come up with a solution? They don't. You have the same old machine with the same old test specimens. You could probably, all I know, memorize the values and go, and you would still be able to do it and you will pass your exams, right? So the first thing what we want to do at RainLab is to educate the students that where is it that they're getting wrong. You're not getting things wrong because you have not studied the right thing, or it is not because like you're not from a good college. It's nothing like that. It's basically because we've been trained to think in the wrong way. All you'll have to do is leave out the lower order thinking skills, start looking at the higher order thinking skills, and that change in mindset is basically all that you need to kind of start working in the industry, and basically even go ahead and start picking up whichever careers it is that you guys would want. So now, what gives me the idea about this, or what makes me an expert in this, is very simply this: because I didn't do my masters, I didn't do my PhD, but I still teach MTech courses at BITS Pilani. I work with industries, I conduct learning and development programs there, which means I should have definitely done something right. Correct? So what I've done correct, I know that I haven't done anything else, and all I've done is just change my way of thinking, and that exactly is what I'm trying to present to you guys, right? So if you guys agree with it, then do let me know. If you don't, you're free to actually discuss this with me. Please do let me know that you don't agree with me, because that's again agreeing and disagreeing and having a discussion is a sign of higher order thinking skills. So don't just say yes to whatever I tell you. Go back and ask me questions. I would be more than happy to answer you guys on that. Right. So where do we go from here? Okay. So very simply put, you understood that you need to probably focus on your higher order thinking skills. So we also know that that is probably what is going to get companies to pay you the money, right? So what you would have to focus on is your higher order thinking skills. We call it as HOTS, higher order thinking skills. And the higher order thinking skills are basically analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So if you have understood that what you do lack is the higher order thinking skills, and what the companies need is also higher order thinking skills, then it's a very simple transaction. You have to go to the companies and you'll have to tell them, guys, I have higher order thinking skills. So then they'll ask, how do we know that you possess it? So you basically go ahead and you showcase your higher order thinking skills, right? So this is exactly the transaction that happens every time any person comes to a a company for a job or something, this is the same transaction that happens. Again, trust me, this is how I take interviews, and because I supply manpower to a lot of companies, I mean, I, in the sense, a company, I do exactly know what is the process that happens. So now, again, one more poll for you guys, another poll on you guys. So now that since this question is regarding your placements, so just for me to understand, how many of you here are really serious about your placements? That is, you're in your final year or your pre-final year and you're starting to seriously prepare for it. So just for me to get an idea, um, just to understand what is it that you guys are, where you're sitting at right now. Some of you might want to go do your masters, so you might be 50-50 here or there, and perfectly acceptable if you're not interested in placements. If you're just here to basically understand what the program is all about, perfectly understandable as well. I hope everyone can see the poll right now. We only have 9 people answering it. Just for me to understand, right? So nothing hard and fast. Do let me know if you guys are serious about your placements. Just putting it out here because we are talking about placements basically. So I thought it would be nice to get an idea about how many of you here are actually serious about your placements. Great. So 12 of you with the 75-25. Let me assume that you guys are actually interested in the placements, right? So let me do assume that that is the case. So for those of you who are not interested, is it because you have some other career plans, or what is it that you guys are doing? Okay. So still at 75-25. Great. So if this is the transaction that you guys are doing, right? So you're going to sit in front of a HR and you're going to tell them, I'm here, please do give me a job. So then the HR is going to ask you, what is it that you have? So if you still think that certificates would help, I would say we are on the wrong side of things. Certificates do help if they are from a really good, well-known, established, institution. But it is not that certification is helping you. It is just that certificate carries with it a whole lot of ideology behind it. So that certificate says this person has completed his data scientist course from IIT, and IIT Madras means that it was a very stringent entrance exam, and we have a very good curriculum, and basically they have that kind of history to go behind. So a certificate from an IIT Madras would probably carry that weightage. But say even if I give you a certificate, do you think it basically carries any weightage? I would say no, right? So I can speak all that I want. I can tell them I teach at BITS Pilani, I work with these automotive companies, but it still doesn't, because something is a standard only when it is basically like been in existence for 20 years, 25 years, then maybe yes, but not otherwise, right? So what you actually would have to do when you go and tell them, look boss, I have higher order thinking skills, so the next thing they're going to ask is, how do you prove that you have that? So you will have to tell them about the projects that you worked on and what exactly you did in the project and how exactly you are able to demonstrate your higher order thinking skills. So don't get me wrong. A project is a project. Doesn't really matter what you do, where you do, but there are a lot more of aspects in the project which actually lets the technical guys and the interviewers basically derive some kind of an information about what kind of a person you are. So trust me, that is something which I'm personally really good at, because I don't know, I've taught about some 2,500 students in BITS Pilani so far, and maybe I've come across some 2,000 projects as well. And I know, looking at the project, I know what is the thought process that went behind. I know what kind of a person he is. So, which means if you know that process, we can also reverse engineer it to structure the project in such a way that The moment they look at it, they know, okay, this guy really knows his stuff, which is why he's done things this way, right? So that project is very important, and you would also have to have a lot of industry relevance with it. So you cannot go do a project right now, basically using something like maybe a 15-year-old technology and then go and take and present it. As in, you cannot go and say like, I'm making a electric vehicle, and maybe take an AC induction motor, put it on a two-wheeler, and just go and say like, I made an electric vehicle. That is not relevant, right? So what you need to do is, you need to be very focused on what message you send to your your basically to your recruiters. And once you do that, you get that message right, that's more than 50% of the job done, right? As they say, marketing is everything. You could take a 100 rupee t-shirt, probably branded as Nike or Adidas, it's going to sell for 2000 bucks. Put the same thing on a pavement, it is sell for 80 rupees, or maybe something less than that, right? So the first thing I want you to remember is this: what you present, how you present, and what kind of mention that you do on it, right? So now that's taken care of, and now let's come to the most important thing. So why is it that you're sitting here in this webinar? Why is it that you're spending 1 hour? Is there a secret that I can probably share with you? I would say yes. We do have a secret, and the secret would probably answer the question as to, can I get a job in 6 months for the 75% of the people who are interested in a placement? How do we ensure that you get a job of your choice, a career of your choice? Do we go ahead and just pay some money and get you to some jobs? No, that's not what we're going to do. So we do have a small secret ingredient, and that's basically called as MATLAB Simulink, right? I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but basically MATLAB Simulink is a software package. It's a software tool, and you just have to go to Naukri or go to any job portal and just type MATLAB or type Simulink, okay, or type MATLAB Simulink, and see how many jobs comes up. So I prepared this slide, I think, a couple of days back, and I got basically around 8,300 results. Now, in the same thing, you go and type CAD, you type CAE, you type CFT, maybe type CATIA, maybe type UG, type whatever it is that you want, right? Go type whatever it is that you want, and let me know if you do get more hits than this particular, the software tool here. I'm pretty sure you would not get more hits than this. And this is one particular tool which is basically used across 25 different industry verticals, right? I'm not kidding, 25 industry verticals. You can see it over here, starting from IT, banking, going even up to like something like marketing and sales, right? Which means you get into one software, you understand how this works, and you basically, get access to 8,000 jobs, right? So technically that's not right, but you do get the idea. So this is one of the most commonly used piece of software, and this is something which can actually give you that kind of an edge for you to like get that placements in 6 months or whatever it is that we are claiming to do, right? So it is not just that it covers a lot of job roles. So job roles like modeling, testing, verification, automated testing, a lot of job roles are possible. At the same time, a lot of technical domains are possible as well. So you could use it for developing IC engines, you could use it for calibration, you could use it for motorsports, vehicle dynamics, ADAS, machine learning, AI, machine vision, you name it, MATLAB Simulink would basically work in it. So now this happens to be the secret sauce which we are talking about, and we would actually be like working around this particular technology or this particular tool. So now don't underestimate the power of MATLAB Simulink. It is not a tool you can go just learn some basic commands and then start using it and then think you can get a job. No, it does not work that way. There is a process which needs to go behind it. So remember, I said 50% of the job is how you present yourself. Now we are talking about the rest of the 50% of it. So we could either do it in two ways. So one, you take a bunch of stones and throw it on something and hope something falls, or you could get a targeted approach. So basically what we do is we try to take a very targeted approach towards getting you guys a job, because I personally understand what the recruiters look for. I know where the students currently stand because I've been working with a lot of educational institutions for the last 4 or 5 years. I worked with the top tier institutions. I worked with normal colleges as well. So I know what's there, what's not. I know what is lacking basically. And based on this, we have what we call as our three-step process, right? So we call it as a 4-3-2-1. So three-step and 4-3-2-1, there are four steps here. Don't get me wrong, they are two different things. So what we do is basically something like this. So we try to get you four definite skill sets. Okay, I'll explain more in later, but basically this is how it's gonna go. And you would have to possess a complete knowledge, a thorough knowledge on at least three tools, right? And then you would have to do two major projects, which basically showcase, which basically use for marketing and sales. So for selling yourself, basically. So you need to have two major projects, and finally, all of these things, it's going to lead you to that one career, whatever it is of your choice, right? So, how many of you are here with me still? So, if you can just answer this poll, if you still don't think that potential employers, what do you think that potential employees pay the most attention to when you're trying to recruit someone? Um, of course, you've heard me talk, right? I've backed up my talks with whatever has happened in my own life. So but according to you, what is it that you would probably pay much more attention to? So time to debunk some myths. Great, so 12 of you, and 11 think that skill sets is important, and the one person who's voted for CGPA, trust me, you're not wrong, you're right. It just happens so that CGPA is indirectly measuring your skill sets, or at least that is how the concept of college was born. So they had kind of designed it in such a way that if you have a good CGPA, you were supposed to have good skills. But somewhere down the line, we have lost track of it, right? You guys know it better than me. So somewhere down the line, we have lost track of it. So nowadays, it's all about your skill sets, and whatever skill sets that you possess, that is basically what is gonna work for you. So now I spoke about a three-step process, right? So I also spoke about how I was way different from anyone else, and I didn't exactly go for campus placements. I didn't go for my masters, and I still do a lot of things which is pretty weird for a mechanical engineer to do. And I'm very practical about it. I've not seen another mechanical engineer work alongside me developing control systems without any proper formal education. That is, I have not seen people work with industry and then go do the same thing with the education institutions. I've pretty much always been a bit different that way. So, which is why I would probably come back to this step here. And the first step, which I need to probably do, is assess yourself, right? So, this is a saying which I very sincerely believe in, and that is every single person is an individual. So, what works for me will not work for you. What works for you will not work for probably the next person, right? So I sincerely believe that not everyone is fit for all jobs. So I cannot say like, okay, I have a batch of 20 people here. I have 20 software testing jobs. Train 20 people for this. Go put them in software testing jobs. No, that is one sure short way of spoiling my career and spoiling your careers as well. Because I believe every single person has got his own individual personality, right? You're not sheep, for heaven's sake. You're not sheep. You are humans. You have your own personality. You have your emotions. You have your own preferences, right? So the first step, what we need to do is understand what kind of a roles you would be suitable for. So now this suitable is not about technical skills. So maybe there is a post called mathematical modeling engineer, right? So I might actually go pick up a person who's failed in mathematics his entire life, because what he's failed, what he's done, it's basically his skill sets which I can teach. But what I do look for is basically if his personality type is suitable for that, right? There are certain jobs like testing engineers where you keep doing the same job over and over again. I'm not sure, but a lot of you would probably not fit into that job at all. because you need to have a specific personality trait for you to excel in it. If you don't, right, if you don't, trust me, this is where the whole problem comes up. If you don't, you just get into a job where that was the first job you came across, you got into it and you start working. 10 years down the line, you'll start questioning your choices. So that's basically where the whole concept of midlife crisis and I'm too stressed out, I cannot handle it. I mean, imagine the number of health problems we see in 10 year, software professionals with 10 plus years of experience. Why do you think they are reluctant to get out of bed in the morning? Why do you think there's so much of problems that you foresee? That's basically because not everyone can be anything. You have to know what you're good at and basically target only those profiles. So, which is why the very step, what we first step, what we do is we do an assessment of yourself and we understand where you're strong at, which is your strong points, and we tailor make whatever we offer around that particular point. So which means the skill sets we teach are the same, but we would probably like train you to target those particular roles. So if you're going to be a good testing engineer, we'll not probably push you to be a sales and marketing guy. Some people are really good at sales and marketing. You need technical sales people as well. That is a high growth trajectory career, but not everyone can be a technical salesperson. So this test of ours will basically let us understand what your skill sets are, and based on your skill sets, we would be able to suggest what roles that you would get. So now this skill set is basically called as a RISAC test. So we would probably like share you a link to do the RISAC test after the session is over. We'll probably WhatsApp you this as well. And this basically classifies your personality into 6 different stereotypes. So that is realist, investigative, artistic, social, enterprising, and conventional. Now, you would have 3 major stereotypes in this, and based on your stereotypes, we can suggest which particular job profile would probably make much more sense for you, right? So let's say like you got a realistic job, I mean realistic code. So your majority score is realistic. So usually people with realistic scores, they tend to be good with the mechanical side of things. So you might have taken mechanical engineering, or you might have been an electronics engineer, but you're good with maybe tinkering circuits, you're building your own stuff, you're good at robotics. So basically anything to do with the hand, the realist people, they're more good at that. Maybe artistic people, they're good at, as you can probably know, artistic things. So 3D modeling, maybe designing some circuits or something, thinking of something in their head and bringing it in 3D. I mean, anything like that, the artistic people are good at. But you also see the artistic people are directly opposite to conventional, which means artistic people need new things, to kind of keep their curiosity going every single day. Whereas conventional people, they're good at working with the same thing over and over again. So now, if you do get a majority score, probably in artistic, right? And suppose someone is asking you to go do a 9 to 5 testing engineer job, trust me, you will quit that job within a year, because you cannot survive in that kind of an environment, because that artistic stereotype in your personality, it requires you to do something new every single day. So when you have a personality like that and you get into a job where you are doing the same thing over and over again, trust me, it will not take you long to kind of get fed up with it and quit. So maybe you ask the question now, saying that, I don't really care. I just need a job. I need to get into a job. Yes, all of those things, I understand the frustrations, but it is also equally important that you understand your strengths and then play toward, because that is where you're going to get this dream career really, right? So again, a quick poll for you just to kind of keep things moving. Did this make sense for you? Do you believe in what I'm talking about? RISAC test, and when I say that we're going to do this test and figure out where you are there, do you think that, or do you still believe that everyone can do any particular job, or do you think that no, that is not the case? You should identify what a person's inherent strengths are, and you should probably play according to it. Nothing solid coming out from this, but just for you to like keep the session interactive basically, and for me to know that you guys are not sleeping. So trust me, that's one perk of working with Bits Pilani. I've been working there for the last 2.5 years, and all the classes have always been virtual. So I don't see my students' face. I basically talk to either the camera in front of me or to my screen. And I should say I'm pretty good at keeping students' interest up, right? So do let me know if you found it interesting, right? So the first step that we do is basically to make sense of yourself, identify your strengths, and then we tell you what is it that you do. So this would be probably like a half an hour one-on-one session. So once you do, I mean, of course, you do understand we are trying to sell you something, right? So I'll tell you what we are trying to sell. But basically, like what we do is before you start your courses, we sit with you for half an hour and we discuss what you are, where you are, and try to understand what your strengths are before actually suggesting what is it that you should be doing. And there have been a lot of cases where, I mean, I'm not a marketing talk, but where I've honestly told people that this course is not going to be good for you because basically this is not what you're going to be doing in your life. So I'm pretty brutally honest in those ways. So which means if you don't really fit into the whole scheme of things, if your interest actually lie elsewhere, even if you do want to have the course done, I would probably tell you this is not probably right for you. So that's one thing which we always believe in. So be very honest with yourself, figure out what is it that you want to do, and then proceed with all the learning. Right now, the step two is to identify basically which domain that you have to work with. Now, this is again something where I would say I see the farthest because I stand on the shoulders of giants. So I've just been fortunate that during my association with Bets Pilani, I've been fortunate enough to work with the leaders from the tech industry. So I've been fortunate to sit with them, talk to them. I've spoken to people from the the industry. I've spoken to people from the consulting vertical. I've even spoken to the venture capitalists. So SoftBank and SAF partners have been talking to them. So basically, this gives me a whole lot of perspective about where exactly this industry is heading to, and from their perspective, what are the skill sets that they basically look for. So one of the websites I do follow a lot is Gartner, and Gartner basically gives you what they call as the hype cycle. So whatever you see on the left-hand side of this curve, so these are all technologies which are yet to mature. These are becoming the hottest technology right now, and whatever you see further down this thing, basically in the plateau of productivity or slope of enlightenment. So these are technologies which are mature and they don't exactly hold the same level of interest as what the new technologies hold. So, like I say, it is extremely important for you to also understand which domain it is that you're going to concentrate on. So, you cannot simply possess skill sets without domain knowledge because skill sets are something which artificial intelligence or machine learning can possess. You have come to see that. You've seen that machine learning can actually automate a lot of human tasks. So when it is happening like that, what is that one factor which is going to differentiate you from a machine learning algorithm? Why is it that the company has to give a 3D modeling job to a human rather than a machine learning algorithm? I would say we are not far away from a point where you feed 2D drawings, the AI is going to probably like generate 3D models for you. It is not, we are not far away from that. AI is also going to probably do the meshing for you. It's also going to do CAE, CFT, and get you test. Where they had 50 people, you would probably have 5 people doing those jobs now. It is not far away. It is something which is very much going to happen. But what is it that which will probably like make you indisposable for the company? Very simply put, that is the domain knowledge that you possess. And domain knowledge, don't simply go and say, I am from the electronics domain, so I know about electronics. No, electronics is basically not a domain. A domain is something like automotive. A domain is medical equipment. A domain is banking. So pick a domain, whatever it is, right? Don't compromise on it. Pick a domain and concentrate on it. And my 2 cents of advice, if it is one of the convergence domain, all that more better, because that is where all the money is going in. That is where everyone's going to be working towards, which means you get a better chance at jobs in that particular domain. So right now, the only convergence domain that I think is basically like gathering a lot of attention is e-mobility or Industry 4.2. Of course, what you do in that is a separate thing, but basically identify one of these domains. And I only work with the automotive domain, which means quite a lot on e-mobility and by extension on Industry 4.2. That's basically what we work on. So if you want to get into medical technology or fintech or something, then I'm not the right person for it. I can give you the basic skill sets, but that is not my area of expertise, right? So now the second step is basically that you identify your domain. So once you identify your domain, what would happen is you have your core skill strengths. Maybe you are a triple E engineer or you are a mechanical engineer. So you take that, you take an industry vertical, you also choose a convergence domain, and these together will become your chosen domain. So take me, for example, I'm a mechanical engineer, which means I have quite a lot of knowledge about manufacturing, materials, and all those things. And I've chosen to be in the automotive vertical. So I know a lot about cars. I know how they work. I know how things do. And I've also chosen a convergence domain, which is basically, I would say, mechatronics, right? So I know electronics, I know controls, and that has kind of become my chosen domain. I want you guys to do the same thing. So sit down, think about it, get the domain chosen. Now, again, this is something which we would jointly do as well. And once you have done it, now you are probably like ready to start getting into the actual skill development part of it. So this is basically different things you could do. So if you are from the computer science department with automotive and electronics domain, you either get into automotive electronics, so you can write code or you can do algorithm development, or a mechanical engineer with automotive like me. But if my chosen convergence domain was data analytics, then I would probably become a predictive analytics engineer, connected cars or ADAS or vehicle dynamics or something like that. So this is basically telling you how is it that you should look at your career plan or your skill development plan. So on the same lines, now when we say skill development, uh, so this is basically what we are going to do. So I'm just going to quickly run through this and get into the actual part and the later things. So we start with the domain knowledge, right? And you remember we said you would have to pick up three different tools. So we would introduce a couple of different tools for you, and depending on your specialization, or you might already know some tools. Some of you might already know maybe tools like 3D modeling or something like that. And finally, most important thing, we teach you how to do critical thinking, higher order thinking skills, and we teach systems engineering, and we also teach design thinking. So now these three things in the last step here, this is basically what is going to set you apart from all of those people who come in there, right? So again, a small question for you guys. Now that we've spoken about all these domains and other things, what do you think is going to be your domain or vertical of interest for you? So are you someone who still believes that traditional engineering is good, or are you basically someone who's courageous enough to kind of step out from the traditional engineering, 3D modeling and things, and do you want to kind of go explore all the new opportunities which is there? Don't worry if you don't have an idea. That's what we are here for. So don't really worry about it. But are you open to kind of like understanding the various other domains which are out there? Okay, at least one thing which is happy for me to know is none of you is interested in the traditional engineering. Good for you. Good for you. It is good that you shouldn't be looking at it, because you guys are far more qualified and far more important to basically be doing a regular manager's job. Not that you don't have to do it, but someone has to do it. But yes, great. For those of you who don't have an idea, don't really worry about it. That's what we are here to help. We'll definitely take care of it. Great. Now, again, we get into the skill development part of it. So I said that you would be learning three different tools, right? So we would always lead with MATLAB Simulink as one of the core tools. I'll tell you why we do that, right? And we basically like will help you develop your higher order thinking skills by asking you to work on a lot of different projects, which means a big, which means probably take it as a word of caution from our side. None of our courses would concentrate on spoon feeding. Especially me, I don't believe in spoon feeding anyone. So our courses would be something like that. So we would give you the information, and I would expect you to put in the work and probably gather that skill set. So this is not something where I give printed notes, I give slides, I teach you what you have to know, and then you become good at it. No, that is not how I teach. That is not what will get you jobs as well. So please take it from me. We will concentrate a lot on how you start thinking. Initially, it will be very difficult for you to kind of like change your way of thinking. But trust me, like I've said, we have probably placed around 30, 40 people so far with the new company, and pretty much everyone was on the same lines, and we've been able to successfully transform their thinking and probably get them the jobs as well, right? So very important step. We are not going to be spoon feeding you. We are going to make things difficult for you, but we are there to support you, right? So any questions you do ask us, we are there immediately to support you, but we will not spoon feed. We are not your college, we are not your tuition centers, we are not a regular edutech company. I would say I'm here purely to kind of upskill you from an industry's perspective, and the primary thing is going to be on the way you think. Okay, so this kind of would kind of give you 60% of all the skills that you need to make your career. So if you ask me, is this all you do? I would say no. I would say all these difficulties, all this probably torture that we put you through, that is only 60% of what you need, right? So the rest of the 40%, the balance, so to speak, that is what is going to be your life skills. Because trust me, we learn 4 years about what engineering is. We we take 4 years to calculate the stress in a beam, to kind of figure out which material is suited for which application, or how do you write a Python program, how do you write a C program. But what we have really failed to do is learn certain basic financials or basic like economic sense, which would help us with our career. I sincerely believe that you need to kind of stop your technical skills at a 60% levels, and the rest 40% you devote it to how do you make better financial decisions? How do you manage your money? Do you know which mutual fund is better than the other one? Or do you really know how the stock market works, or how you could make investments in the stock market? Do you know how to plan for your retirement? Don't tell me that you're only 20 years old. Why should I plan for my retirement? You plan right now, you can retire in 15 years' time. You don't plan it, you plan when you're 40s, 50s, you end up working till 65. It's basically the same thing. So, who wants to do that, right? So, if you need to strike a work life balance, basically the yin and yang, then I sincerely believe that you need to have both the technical skills as well as the life skills. So, as a part of the skill development program, apart from the technical skills, we would also be focusing on the life skills part. So, we would have a lot of skill development programs for your emotional intelligence, for your communication skills. We call it as corporate skills. So, basically, if you want to survive in the corporate environment, you need to know a lot of skills. You need to know how to write an email. You need to know how to cover your backsides, right? Because it's people do backstab in corporates. It's every man for himself over there. So how do you survive in that kind of an environment? How do you manage your stress? How do you manage work-life balance? So these are things which we cover there as well, right? So that's basically about what we do, right? And now, based on this, we have developed what we call as our masterclass programs. So please bear with me. I'm being, my Elon Musk fanboy moment. So I sincerely believe that when I was talking to you about what actually made me succeed, or rather reach this particular point of time in life, is down to the very simple fact that I am what people would call as an expert generalist. I am not a specialist. Specialization is what you do when you appear your master's and doctoral thesis, whereas I am stuck with my BTech degree, which means I'm a generalist. I know quite a lot about a lot of different things, and I also have the thinking skills to make myself a bit of an expert at that. So now, if you ask me, to debug a code in C or Python, I can do that. You ask me to do something on machine learning or electronics, control systems, automotive systems, or rather you ask me to be a mechanic, you ask me to tune an ECU. I'm basically, I kind of have quite a lot of skill sets. I wouldn't say I'm a master at all of those things, but I do have a lot of expertise in it. So basically, this is the principle which we follow in our programs as well. And one of the primary things what we do, especially with the automotive side of things, is we do follow this principle where we try to make you an expert generalist. So what our program is going to have is basically something like this. So it's going to be a 3-month blended program. So there'll be something like about 5 or 6 courses which you learn online, and then the same 5 or 6 courses, the level 2 of it, you learn with an instructor. And every single program would have maybe 1 or 2 projects that you would have to work on. And we also have boot camps. So boot camps are super intensive, half a day, 1 full day long software training sessions. So these would probably like inculcate the critical thinking skills in you. And finally, end of the thing, you would have around 20 projects to basically work on. And you would also do 4 life skills courses. And this is basically what is going to go into your resume preparation. So remember the very first slide I spoke about a simple transaction between you and your recruiters. We do that. We help you with the interview prep, and we also prepare you for the placements. So now there's not a placement guarantee. There is absolutely no way anyone in the world can guarantee you anything. But what we do is we go by our previous experience, our previous track record, and we basically have developed this as a masterclass program. So we basically want to prepare you as a Swiss knife of sorts. So you know that a Swiss knife can be used for multiple purposes. So this is also the reason why we lead with MATLAB Simulink, because in current days, especially since there's so much of flux and all those things happening, what we want to be able to do is, maybe you are a triple E engineer and you have completed our master course on model-based development. So you should be able to get a job either as an embedded systems engineer, or you can get a job as a calibration engineer, or as an IoT engineer, or maybe a testing validation for an autonomous vehicle. So why do I keep saying or? It's because the whole program is designed in such a way that you would become an expert generalist in quite a lot of these areas. And once you have got into one of these domains as per your personality types and you start working on it, you can probably think, okay, this is good for me. Let me start focusing and specializing in it. You can probably specialize at that point. But we don't want you to specialize at this particular point and then make you get stuck with one particular domain. We want to keep options open for you. So basically, you can decide which is the career that you want to build for yourself. So what you would probably be doing, probably something better explained by it, is you might be from different domains, traditional engineering domains, but by the time we are done with you, the whole program, we are going to be putting you through a very stringent domain expertise programs. So day in and day out, you learn about automotive domain. Then you learn what 1D modeling is all about. We teach you control theory, and finally we teach you systems engineering. Systems engineering is basically how an automotive industry, or any industry for that matter, works on any projects, new project development or testing or validation. That systems thinking is basically something which we cover in it. So this particular masterclass program is going to make you an expert generalist in the automotive domain. And subsequently, these are the skill sets, or these are basically the job roles which you could target. So you might be a mechanical engineer, but you could basically go work as a machine vision development engineer. So don't for even a single second think that is not possible because you're a mechanical engineer. It is very much possible. They would want a mechanical engineer to sit in their ADAS team, primarily because someone has to tell the electronics engineer that this is where you can mount a sensor. This is where the sensor can be mounted, or maybe the data which is coming from the sensor, this is probably down to the fact that there is vibrations there. So someone has to have that kind of a knowledge. So basically, that is what we are targeting. So it doesn't really matter which branch of engineering you're from, you would basically be able to qualify for any of the jobs which is over here. So you might ask, why does an electrical engineer have to become a CFT engineer? You would probably like look at it when you start working with e-mobility, electric vehicles. You will see that these electric cars have a lot of power electronic devices which has to be cooled, which has to be like monitored. So CFT does come and play over there, right? So this is basically what we try to convert you into. And the final thing is basically about the model-based development track per se. So we do have multiple tracks which can kind of like take you through this, but basically like model-based development track, this is what we currently offer for you. So the top 3 reasons, so to speak of, or top 3 reasons why is it that you should probably think of a model-based development track is this. So the first one is you get to learn something which is not taught elsewhere. Trust me on this. I know this is not being taught anywhere else because I've been around the country. I know what syllabus is there on offer, and a program like this with faculty who have expertise like this, I can probably bet on you that this is not being taught in this manner anywhere else. Maybe if you go abroad for your masters, maybe yes, you do learn, but in India, there is absolutely no way that you get to learn what is being taught here. And the second thing is, since we are not just, people have just passed out from college. I mean, I'm 40 years old for that matter, and I have about 12, 13 years of industry expertise. There are other directors on my company with 20 years, 25 years of industry experience. We primarily focus on teaching only what can get you a job immediately. And we also teach only those things which would probably have a future 10 years, 15 years down the line, which means we don't pay too much attention to 3D modeling or draftsmanship or something like that. I mean, which is basically something what everyone else can do. We basically focus on what can immediately get you jobs. And the third most important thing for you probably would be the kind of value that we can probably bring into one of our programs. So value in terms of knowledge that we bring in, the industry relevance which we bring in, and of course with the pricing as well. So we try to kind of make sure that this is available at an extremely valuable proposition for you guys. And in fact, if you look at our model-based development track, what we do is right now we offer multiple other programs which basically go into making up this master class. So starting with the domain knowledge courses, which introduce you to multiple other domains. So you might be from a triple E engineer, you could probably skip the triple E level one. You might do it if you still want to do it. But say you are from a mechanical engineering background, you don't really understand what triple E is. Maybe you learned it as a course, but you didn't really appreciate it. So we let you appreciate the concepts, we let you build upon those concepts and gather the domain expertise. And then we move on to the advanced courses. So the advanced courses, basically you would have about 8 modules which will like kind of complete the model based development track. And altogether you would find that this is something which we price at about a lakh or lakh and 25. But when you do it as a master course, we basically like slash out, we offer a discount because this is again a batch course. So we would be able to offer this at a price which would not be available pretty much anywhere else. So currently, I think the masterclass programs, we price it at 50,000 rupees plus GST. So which means you almost get a 50% off from whatever is being offered from the individual courses. And like I said earlier, this is again a 3-month program and a blended program, which means you can do the course wherever you are. Doesn't really matter which part of the country you are in. And you would be able to do it online, and you would have both recorded as well as live sessions. And like I said, 20 projects and 2 major projects, and the rest of the life skill courses thrown in as well. So finally, how do you basically go ahead with this? So we would, I would request you, if you are kind of interested, do let us know that you're interested, yes or no, whatever it is. I would be happy to like take your no's as well. So if you're interested, then basically you could just pay a small, reservation spot. I mean, you could just pay a small fees and reserve your spot, and you could take maybe the next couple of weeks to kind of decide when is it that you want to take up this masterclass. So masterclasses usually commence towards the end of each month. So you could decide to do it this month, or you could basically decide to like postpone it at a later point of a time, or you could also reschedule it as and when you basically need it to happen. So now this basically lets us schedule our batches and kind of bring a lot more of things on, because like I said, the master class is not just a training program, but we basically get you to interact with a lot of industry people as well. So if you can just simply let us know what is it that you guys are gonna do, whether it's an yes or a no, then basically it becomes easy for us to schedule the tech talks and bringing people from the industry and getting you to actually interact with them and understand what is it they look for. So all of these things becomes easy for us if we do have that kind of a clarity. For which reason I have just put up the latest poll on this. If you're still, interested in pursuing this masterclass, uh, then do please let us know. Like I said, we would be happy to receive your no's as well, because then that tells us what exactly is it that you guys want. So please do let us know about that as well, so that we can get back to you with more information, and we can kind of take things forward. Right. That would basically bring us to the end of our discussion. And if there's anything that you guys want, I'm open for your questions. So the questions need not be just with respect to the masterclass. It can be anything on your careers, anything for your masters. Basically, whatever else it is that you want to pick my brains for, I'm all yours. Please go to the questions tab on the left hand side and type out your questions in that, and I would be more than happy to answer your questions. Any questions you guys have with it? Please don't really bother about whether you can ask me this or not. If you can just type it out there, whatever it is, I would take your questions. Right. So it can be regarding your careers. It can be regarding pretty much anything that you want to know, your master's course, or if you want to do maybe a free evaluation of your site profile. Do let us know. We are more than happy to help. So do let us know what is it that you are interested in, and we'll try to accommodate you for that. Any ways in which we can kind of like help you guys. Let me just pull out the results, and so we have 5 people who are from the circuitry branch. So people who are from the circuitry branch, then maybe this would be a very, very, very ideal thing for you guys, because model-based development is something which is in a lot of demand. I teach at Valio in Chennai, so model-based development is something which they do give a lot of importance to. So if you guys are already working on it, great. But if you're not, then this is a very good opportunity for you to kickstart that side of things. For the mechanical engineers, the reason why you should do model-based development is very simply because using MBD, you will figure out how to develop complex electronic systems without writing a single line of code. So it is that powerful, basically. So which is why it makes it like a lot more important in the industry as well. So yes, and it's surprising, no one from the CSIT side, one person from the other department. I'm not sure which department you are from, but if you do have any questions, please do let us know. Please do, probably type out a question or something if you have that. So we have 14 people who are very interested, serious about securing your placements. So guys who are serious about it, if there is any other way in which we can help, not just the master class, but any other way in which we can help, if you want to do some short-term skill development programs or anything like that, do let us know. We would be happy to help you out with those things as well. Right. So skill sets has been the most common answer. So you guys at least know what to do. So 84% agrees that not everyone can do all the jobs, and 50% don't know which domain you want to get into. 25%, four of you want to get into the traditional engineering. Great. So you would be happy to know that this was actually a trick question, because even with the traditional engineering, all your production automation, your production scheduling and things, people do use quite a lot of model-based development in that, right? So that is again something which might be of interest to you guys. So great. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put out the last poll, which basically, kind of helps us get an idea about whether we did things right or if there is something which we can improve. Your honest suggestion, if you think we did a bad job, please do put it out there, So at least we can understand where we went wrong and we can try to like get things done properly the next time, right? Okay, so while this is going on, I think we have one question. So let me just put it up here. It's from Elvin Daniel. Do I need any preloaded skills apart from my BE degree to take up the course on offer? So Daniel, I mean, I think I can call you Daniel, or Elvin Daniel. Okay, so you don't need any other skills. So I would say the only skill set you would need to take up the master class is a keen interest to succeed in life. So if you are very keen on landing the placements, if you are willing to dedicate time, and if you're willing to work towards it, that is all that I ask from you. And anything else which is needed, I will make sure that it is covered in the course itself. So which is why if you take our mathematical modeling course, we actually start from calculus. Most of you don't really understand what calculus is. I mean, I was that way. You ask me to solve an integral equation, I would probably run away. So, but what we have done with our course is that we have made all this very, very, very simple for you guys to access it, right? So, which is why I sincerely believe you need absolutely no prerequisites. You don't even need to have an all pass certificate. You don't need to be in the fourth year. Even if you're in the second year, this is something which is going to help you reach out to your goal ultimately. So the answer to it very simply is you don't need any other skill set apart from having a very keen interest to succeed, right? Sorry, I left it out in the presentation, but a very relevant question. Anyone else with any other questions? Please don't hesitate. It is not. It need not even be anything relevant to what you guys. I mean, what we spoke. Anything even otherwise, please do let us know. We would be more than happy to help you out with that.